Hey guys, it's Annalise here. It is another No Makeup Monday vlog. I am super excited about this week's, but I have to apologize first for skipping last Monday, but I think I had a good reason. Last Monday was my first day off as the Complexion Concierge full-time. I quit my full-time job so that I could go into Complexion Concierge land and professional actress land full-time. So I'm super excited. I hope you forgive me. So let's delve back into No Makeup Monday. I asked on Facebook for people's burning skincare questions, and universally, the number one thing that kept coming up over and over again was pores. So, got a lot to talk about today, so I want to jump right in. Your pore size is genetically determined, which means your pore size is your pore size is your pore size. There is nothing really that you can do to change how many pores you have or how large they are. Okay? So, everybody take a deep breath in and let it out. Your pore size is your pore size is your pore size. So one of the things that I always tell people when we talk about pores, I have a very oily skin type and I have very large pores. In fact, when I was in aesthetic school, when we would talk about skin type, the teachers would say, have Annalise come over so everybody can see what oily skin and large pores look like. Now, some of you have met me in person, maybe you've just seen me here on the internet, but if you've looked at me, you probably have never looked at me and thought, wow, that girl has really big pores. And that's because my pores are well maintained and I take good care of them. So let's get to that maintenance level as opposed to hating the fact that our body has pores. So what is a pore? A pore, or a follicle, is basically the duct through which oil comes out of the body to secrete and lubricate our skin. They're essential. So every pore, it kind of looks like a bulb, has a sebaceous gland attached to it, and then has a very, 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 very itty bitty, bitty, bitty small hair in it. So that sebaceous gland, the oil gland, produces oil that then travels up the hair and then lubricates the skin. So your pore is necessary for having healthy, maintained, gorgeous skin. People with more pores, people like myself who have larger pores and have more of them, meaning I have pores that are visible on my cheeks, on my chin, all the way out to my kind of jawline. I have an oilier skin type, which means I have more oil glands that are attached to more pores, and the openings of those pores are larger. Okay, so that determines my skin type. A drier skin type has less pores that are smaller in size, therefore less oil glands and smaller openings for which that oil can come through. So really, your pore size is completely genetically determined, and we need to let go of the idea that we should look like the airbrushed woman who has been siliconed and primered and makeuped over and then airbrushed and then given more highlighters and more good lighting to make sure that she looks like she has none. So your pore size is your pore size is your pore size. But let's talk about maintaining pores. Let's talk about making sure that no one looks at us and from 5 miles away says, look at that girl's pores. We want her to say, look at that beautiful girl and what a nice person she looks like. That's what I want people to say when they see you, and that's what I want you to feel like when you meet new people. So first things first, you cannot scrub out a pore. I've seen so many diagrams that are just ridiculous. Like, here's this fancy cleanser or a scrub or a machine that you use, and it sends the product down into the pore and it comes back out. That is total malarkey. There is one product that can do it, and you don't need a special tool for it. We'll get there. However, if we were able to absorb things like apricot scrub into the pore to clean it out, we would therefore be walking out into the world and constantly absorbing small materials. That is disgusting. I mean, think about walking onto the subway and then suddenly absorbing small materials. Ugh, terrifying. So if we can't scrub out a pore, what can we do to keep it clean and make it look as even and non-noticeable as possible? First things first, we always want to wash our face with a gentle cleanser morning and night. Just say no to bar soap. Bar soap is made with an ingredient that makes that soap form into a bar, which means once you emulsify it, wash it on the face, rinse away. If any of those ingredients are left on the face, they will try to become a bar again, meaning they will go back into that hardened form sitting in the pore. Definitely pore clogging, definitely not good for the skin in general. So if you need a recommendation of a gentle cleanser, please let me know. We also want to make sure that we're properly removing makeup. If you're using products, a heavy makeup, a heavy primer, to eliminate the appearance of pores, it's doing so by filling them in, literally spackling them in. So we need to make sure we are really removing that at the end of the day. So properly remove makeup as well as properly cleansing the skin. So sometimes for people, especially for me, this is a two-step process. I always want to remove makeup, then wash my face. If your cleanser says it does both, you still need to use it in both ways. So let me know if you have questions about that. I'm happy to walk you through it. Second thing, we want to make sure that we're not using products that are too heavy for the skin. So how do you know if a product is too heavy for you? You're the only one who will be able to tell that. I may be able to make some suggestions, and then I can use my deductive powers of reasoning to figure it out with you. But you are in control of your body, and you are in control of its responses and how you then respond to it. You might have something that works amazingly well at night in December that doesn't work at night in August. Or maybe when the springtime comes and you're on a Claritin, your skin needs something more emollient, but in the fall you don't. So these are things that you, as the owner of your body, as the only body that you're ever going to have, need to really take ownership of. I can help you guide to better answers and help make that process a little more streamlined. But the only way you'll know is kind of by trial and error, which is why I always like to recommend 3 or 4 products at a time so that we can really see what's going to be the most effective for today and then take tomorrow one day at a time. So make sure you're using products that are not too heavy for your skin. We want to also encourage cellular turnover. So now let's get into what sits in the pore. Your pore is always, if you have a larger pore, if you have an oilier skin type, and almost all of us do on our nose and on our chin, and some of us here as well on the forehead, you will probably always have a presence of what's called sebaceous material. What's sebaceous material? Basically, it's oil goo. It's a mixture of things like oil, dead dry skin that should have been sloughed off, makeup, bacteria, which could lead to breakouts. Also, when this pore becomes clogged, it creates an anaerobic, an oxygen-deprived state, which then can breed acne or P. acne bacterium. So we don't want this to be happening on a regular basis. We want to make sure that that sebaceous material is not getting stuck in the pore. How do we do that? We do that by washing the face twice a day. We also do that by encouraging cellular turnover. As you know, our skin cell turnover slows down at about 17 and never speeds back up again. So if you're in your mid-30s like I am, it's already been half of my life of slowed down skin cells. We want to use products that will encourage new fresh skin cells to come to the surface and then take a layer of this dead dry skin cells away. You can use that with a physical scrub, a mechanical scrub, something that you move around on the skin. Always use something that is a man-made particle, not a found object, which can cause micro tears in the skin. You can also use an enzyme. Enzymes work by eating little keratinized dead skin cells, kind of like Pac-Man. They just go, meow, 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 meow. Did it help that I make the sound? And then the other one, which is personally my favorite, is chemical exfoliants. Chemical exfoliants are primarily alpha hydroxys and beta hydroxys, though there are some others. An alpha hydroxy is more for a dry skin type, and a beta hydroxy is more for an oily skin type, is what I personally use, because beta hydroxy or salicylic acid loves to go in the pore. This is the one thing that does go into the pore and travel out, because it goes down. It's oil loving. It's wants to push everything else out by sitting in the pore. So you always want to make sure that if you have an oily skin type or concerns about blackheads, that you're using some product that encourages the sloughing of dead dry skin. For an oilier skin type, it might be beta hydroxy salicylic. Again, this is a little complicated. Some people with sensitive skin can't handle alphas or betas. Some people with rosacea tendency skin can't handle enzymes or different types of scrubs. So we need to work this out together. We have many options, but it's not easy to figure out the best one for each individual person, and also, again, for each different time of the year. So that salicylic, that cellular turnover is essential for both anti-aging, but also for pores and the kind of the texture and tone of the skin. The other thing that we can do is absorbing excess oil. A well-formulated clay mask can do that. So if your oil gland is overperforming, then we just need to clear it out a little using a clay mask, and we just want to put that on the affected areas. For me personally, I am fairly dry on my forehead. I don't know why. It's the way I was made. So when I use a clay mask, I put it here and here, but not on my forehead, because then I would just be absorbing excess oil than I need there. I would find myself really dry the next day. You probably never noticed the last time you got a facial because you were lying down with your eyes closed, but the esthetician probably put a different type of mask on different types of the face, different areas of the face. So this is something we all know. It's a big secret that we don't tell you. You don't put a mask necessarily all over the face. You put it in the affected areas. The other thing that we can do when we talk about pore size, And this particularly comes into play if maybe your pores are a little distended. And again, your pores are probably distended if you had some serious acne earlier in life, or if maybe you've lost a lot of weight. We see when people lose the fat content of their body, and that sometimes the skin starts to sag and the pores appear bigger. Or as you're losing collagen, the same thing applies. So prescription retinoids for cellular function are amazing for this. And of course, retinoids can do a lot of different things. They are a little bit complicated. So another reason why I love to talk about these things, to encourage you to know how to work through that process, because your dermatologist might just give you the prescription and not give you very much follow-up. But those retinoids will encourage the body to function more youthfully, stimulating collagen production, and then hopefully tightening the pore back up over time. And again, I know if you've watched my videos before, you know I don't really believe in over-the-counter retinoids. If you're going to do it, go to the doctor. You'll end up saving money in the long run because you'll get way, way, way more bang for your buck, and you'll get a better result. So the other thing that we could use is something called a comedone extractor. I have mine right here. You'll see it's just a little tool with two small loops on either end. And what you do with that is you place the tool directly above the pore. So if this is my pore on my skin, I would put the comedone extractor directly above it so that the pore was lining right in the middle of the circle, and then press down. That's all you do. And we don't want to be too aggressive with that. We really want to make sure that we're doing that properly and not too harsh. Otherwise, we can, of course, break the follicle wall, leading to more problems, making the pore distended, and that's not going to be helpful. So any questions about comedone extractors, I'm happy to walk you through that as well. And then the other thing is possible is cosmetic and spa treatments, things like microdermabrasion, chemical peels, which are more concentrated alphas, betas, lactics, malic acids, all the different types of things. Different ones are better for different skin types, different programs are better for different people at different times and for different goals and different budgets. So this is, again, something where depending on what your goals are, we could do about 15 different things and they could all work. Or maybe one would be just fine, or maybe 3, or maybe 5, or maybe we do 2 things now and we're going to add 4 things next month. These are things that we can talk about when we consult together and when we work together, because it's not just one thing that will become the answer. It's going to be different for everyone. If there were already one solution, we would all use it. So another big question when it comes to pores is blackheads. Why do they become black? That is basically oxidation. It is not dirt. Again, you can't scrub out or clean a pore, so it doesn't, don't think of it as dirt. It is oxidized sebaceous material. So just like when you slice an apple and that apple starts to become brown if you don't cover it up or eat it right away, we need to keep the sebaceous material both not living very long in the pore, but also we need to protect it from becoming oxidized. How do we do that? Same way that we protect apples or potato salad, we want to use antioxidants. We want to use something like a lemon juice or a mayonnaise or whatever it is that protects that kind of delicate skin from those free radicals oxidizing it. So antioxidants are also amazing for anti-aging. So that's why they're my number 2 for all things skincare related, because they're going to help with anti-aging, but they're also going to help make sure that that sebaceous material will no longer become so obvious because its color will be the same flesh tone as the skin and won't be quite so obvious. So basically, at the end of the day, you're going to have pores because you're human. And I'm so glad you're human, because if you weren't, that would be weird that you're watching my video. But your pore size is your pore size is your pore size. And we need to come to terms with what that means for you. If they are distended, if you do have pores that maybe you remember when they used to not be quite so big, we need to first clear up the routine that you're on to make sure it's perfect, and then go into some extra kind of heavy-hitting help, talking to dermatologists, talking to a licensed medical esthetician, things like that, to see what we can do. The last thing I will leave you with is please, please, please don't use any of those pore strips. I know they are so tempting, and sometimes I just want to do it because I'm like so OCD, and it's like this weird esthetician craziness of me to just want to know what's inside my pores. However, the reason we don't want to do that is that the ripping of the removal of the strip oftentimes, depending on how long that pore has been impacted, can rip the inside of the pore wall. It could be really, really disastrous. So we want to make sure that we are treating our pores as gently as possible. So always make sure that you are doing the steps that I outlined above on a daily basis. And then if you have questions about the other things you can do, let's sign up for our consultation. I'm happy to help. Again, this is complicated, y'all. This is very complicated. If it were easy, we would all have it taken care of all the time. So again, another deep breath. Your pore size is your pore size is your pore size. I love you and your pores the way they are. I look at you from a nice, respectable distance. I want people to see you and say, wow, what a nice looking woman. What a nice, kind, gentle person. Not have you worried that they're looking at your pores, because I guarantee you they're not. They're probably just looking at you. But if you're not thinking about it, then we need to make sure that we get on a better path. So if you have any other questions, always feel free to reach out, and I look forward to talking to you next week. I'll see you next Monday.